A subquery is a select statement that is embedded in a clause of another select statement. You can build powerful statements out of simple ones by using subqueries. They can be very useful when you need to select rows from a table with a condition that depends on the data in the table itself. In the slide, the inner query determines the salary of employee Abel. The outer query takes the result of the inner query and uses this result to display all the employees who earn more than this amount. Subqueries can be a single row or a multiple row. A single row subquery is one that returns one row from the inner select statement. This type of subquery uses single row operators. A select statement can be considered as a query block. The example on the slide displays employees whose job ID is the same as that of the employee 141 and whose salary is greater than that of employee 143. The example consists of three query blocks: the outer query and two inner queries. The inner query blocks are executed first, producing the query results stclerk and 2600 respectively. The outer query block is then processed and uses the values returned by the inner queries to complete its search conditions. You can display data from the main query by using a group function in a subquery to return a single row. The subquery is in parentheses and is placed after the comparison condition. You can use subqueries not only in the where clause, but also in the having clause. The Oracle server executes the subquery, and the results are returned into the having clause of the main query. The SQL statement on the slide displays all the departments that have a minimum salary greater than that of Department 50. Subqueries that return more than one row are called multiple row subqueries. You use a multiple row operators like in, any, and all. The multiple row operator expects one or more values. The any operator compares a value to each value returned by a subquery. The slide example displays employees who are not IT programmers and whose salary is less than that of any IT programmer. The maximum salary that a programmer earns is $9,000. Less than any means less than the maximum, and greater than any means more than the minimum. The all operator compares a value to every value returned by a subquery. The slide example displays employees whose salary is less than the salary of all employees with a job ID of IT Prog and whose job is not IT Prog. Less than all means more than the maximum, and less than all means less than the minimum. Suppose we are to get the employee numbers and names of all employees who earn more than the average salary. So we need first to find the average salary, which is our inner query, and this result will serve as our input to our outer query. And all salaries greater than the average are returned. Here is an example that makes use of multiple row operator in select distinct department number from employee, and it returns three results, and this result will serve as our condition for our outer query. So all the employees in departments 10, 20, and 30 will be displayed. Here is another example that makes use of another table. So we need to get the department number from the table department where location is equal to Dallas. And the result is 20, which will serve as our condition to our output query. And all the employees with department number 20 are displayed. So subqueries divide the complex query into isolated parts so that it can be broken down into a series of logical steps.